used to reading books with chapter-long sex scenes. Please leave me alone. I don't need descriptions of cucumbers. Hi, my name is Payana. I'm a book-obsessed metalhead, and welcome to my fantasy world. Let me just straighten you out. That's better. My god, this thing's shiny. So, Fourth Wing. The book that has literally taken the internet by storm. The book that everybody's been talking about. The book that everybody's been reading. The book the whole internet has been going crazy over. So, I read it. We need to talk about this. So this is a high fantasy novel involving a deadly school and some dragons. So obviously I was like, okay, me likes a good Dragon Rider story. This book is pretty much entirely told from the point of view of the main character, Violet. It is literally shoved in our face in the first chapter that Violet is this really tiny little person and that she can't possibly become a Dragon Rider because she is so tiny and she is so frail and she has ongoing health issues. Remember back in like the noughties when every YA female character was this tiny little fragile creature that will just fall apart if you touch them, but that has like really big brain and can outthink everybody. That trope is very much back with this book. So she has to go and become a Dragon Rider because Mum says so. So she has to go to this academy where basically you either succeed in becoming a Dragon Rider or you die. Her mother is a very important dragon general lady. Her sister is also a renowned Dragon Rider, and so is her brother before he passed away. So, no pressure. But she wasn't, however, supposed to be a Dragon Rider. She was supposed to be a scribe. Because health issues and tiny little body. So the first thing she has to do to join this school along with everybody else is to walk across this really narrow parapet that's like really slippery and really uneven, and the goal of this is to make sure that the riders have good balance. They either do or they die. And when she gets to this parapet, there is this super hot dude there. And she's like, oh my god, he's so hot. Like, oh my god, I want to take my clothes off. Like, And then she discovers that he is the son of a man that her mother executed because rebellion. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you because, like, your mum killed my dad. And she's like, oh my god, I'm super scared. And her sister's like, oh my god, this dude's super scary. Stay away from him. So enemies to lovers then. Rebecca Yarros, try and make it more obvious next time. So she walks across the parapet and then she is greeted by her childhood best friend, who is this really annoying character who's always like, oh my god, you're so fragile, you can't possibly be here, I'm going to try and smuggle you out. This is basically his entire personality. He just is like, oh my god, you're so fragile, oh my god, and is essentially trying to discourage her from everything. And she's like, oh wow, I remembered him from when I was a kid and I had a super crush on him. So a love triangle then. Again, try and make it more obvious. And then the dragons happen, and like the school happens, and they have to do all these like physical tests, and she's not very good because she's so tiny. But then muscular reinforcement happens, and la-di-da, and she meets the dragons and becomes a Dragon Rider despite the fact that she's so frail. And also apparently she's more intelligent than everybody else because big brain, really fragile girl. And then she shocks everybody by not imprinting on one dragon but two. So she's got this massive gigantic black dragon and this tiny little golden dragon, and still got a crush on super hot dude whose name is Zayden, by the way, and every time she sees this guy, her ovaries start clapping. Like, I swear. She's supposed to be super smart, but she can't stop her hormones from going off whenever this dude walks into the room. Like, there's a chapter where they're, like, training to fight on these mats, and he walks in with, like, his subordinate, and they're, like, stripping off. And she's like literally drooling over him to the point that she's like not even focusing anymore. Seriously, what good is this girl gonna be in a war? Just throw a bunch of hot dudes at her and she's just gonna be, oh my god, oh, pecs, oh, I can't possibly fight. Oh, super big brain, remember? So I thought that this was kind of going to go the way that it did in the Bone Witch trilogy, where the love interest is like really mean to her until eventually he realizes that he has a crush on her, but that's actually not what happens. Xaden is surprisingly really supportive. She also like finds out some illegal stuff about him that she like doesn't want to share with anyone, so she kind of has this sort of power hold over him. Not really, because like it's not really that relevant in the end. Like it becomes relevant later on, but she doesn't really realize it. So again, big brain girl. But he's actually super supportive, as opposed to her childhood best friend Dane, who just deserves a slap in the face because he's always like, oh, you need to be smell the next, you're so fragile. We get it, Dane. We get it. And you want to keep her in a box because she's made of porcelain. Also, control issues. When she eventually does hook up with Xaden in a chapter-long sex scene.
And that's fine. That's fine, yeah. It's just sex. I
am not used to reading books with chapter-long sex scenes. That is not something I normally do. Please leave me alone. I don't need descriptions of cucumbers.
It's all just willies and front bottoms.
So they have sex, and she sets some trees on fire, and he wrecks her room. Because honestly, when you're having sex with someone, if you don't break half the furniture, it's not really worth it, is it? Like, what's the point?
He must have a dick of death.
Anyway, after this, they have to do what is the final exam, known as War Games. Half the cast have died by this point on the way. It's like, this country who's at war with their neighbouring country clearly doesn't need foot soldiers. Like, if you don't become a dragon rider, you're worthless, basically. Like there is no room for you in this kingdom. So she and Xaden get sent off to this village, which is like beyond the border, beyond the protective walls of their kingdom. And they discover that they've been sent there to die, that it's actually been a plot all along. But Violet discovers that her lovely Xaden and his mates, the children of the rebels who all, like, the parents all got executed, but the children all became dragon riders. And they're all, like, peddling arms to the opposite team. And she's like, oh my god, how could you do this? Like, Xaden spent the whole time they were together telling her that she shouldn't fall for him because he's got secrets and dark and mysterious, which just makes her fall for him even more. And then she, like, gets really mad at him when she finds out his secret, and it's like, girl, he has been literally telling you all along not to fucking fall for him. He has been literally warning you that there are things about him you maybe not want to know. Why are you mad at this dude? Also, she was kind of aware of his, like, secret society, secret meetups kind of thing, which, again, you would have thought, oh, yeah, this makes sense now. I thought, oh, that's why. Oh, yeah, that's why he said this at the meeting and blah. And, like, but, yeah, it never comes up. So, like, yeah, big brain girl. The dragons are always banging on about, oh, you're so smart, you're the smartest one in your year. She's not that smart. She is not that smart. She cannot function when there are abs visible in the room, and you can warn her about something again and again. Everybody warned her about Xaden and his secrets by waving a giant red flag in front of her, but she was still like, no, I'm just gonna go along with it. Like, because big brain, big brain. And then she doesn't trust him anymore, and it's like, why did you even trust him in the first place? Why are we doing this? Why are we here? So, Fourth Wing. I absolutely fucking love this book. Holy shit. Sorry. When I was 50 pages in, despite the amount of insane eye-rolling, after 50 pages, I was like, this is my life right now. Everything else can go back on the shelf and wait. I hate how much I love this book! By 100 pages, I'd pre-ordered the second one. The second book novel will probably be released by the time this video goes up. Yeah, you're watching me in the future. Hi. So, despite, as I said, the insane amount of eye-rolling, and the fact that Rebecca Yarros has seemingly managed to take every single trope that I hate and cram it into a 500-page novel and make it work The thing about Violet being really tiny and frail is countered really strongly by her perseverance. And I like that this book isn't pretending that she's actually way stronger than she actually is. She's not. She has joint issues and fragile bones, and that comes up in the book. Her joints get fucked up. She breaks some bones. The book doesn't pretend, oh, she's way stronger than she looks, or that people make her out to be, or she's got this hidden physical strength or whatever. It doesn't do that. It is fully aware, here's a frail character, and here's what being a frail character is like. I also like that in the scene where they're like doing this assault course, there are obstacles that she can't get up, one of them in particular, because she's too short. And as somebody who is also on the short side, I very much appreciate the way this was written, because she ends up like having to find a way around it by like thinking laterally. And Xaden even helps her with this by saying, you know, the right way is not necessarily the only way. And this is true. Like, as somebody who used to really love doing assault courses, this is an issue. Size is an issue. Like, these courses are not meant for short people. And you do end up having to find ways round that aren't, like, necessarily the ways that a average height person would take. One of the things that I learned how to do was to jump really high. So it does like mean doing extra work and like doing work that the others might necessarily not have to do. And this really showed, like whenever we were doing high jumping, I could jump higher than girls that were like a head taller than me and that were a lot lighter than me, because I had to, because doing these, I had to learn that to do these assault courses. And when you're going at an obstacle, you kind of have to think about it in like a different way. You have to, you learn to use your brain, and you have a different kind of logic. So I really appreciated the way that was done. Rebecca Yarros is also very good at pacing. The pacing in this novel is perfect. Like, there's never a moment where it drags, or it's like, oh, come on, can we move this on a bit? Even the sex scene. Becky. Can I call you Becky? I'm going to call you Becky. Becky. How did you do this? How? I also like the dragons because obviously, like, we have a typical Anne McCaffrey type of dragon riders, like, you know, bonding with their dragons, but unlike most of the other, like, dragon riders related books that I've read, the dragons are independent. Like, they have their own kingdom, they have their own nation, they have their own way of doing things with their own laws and society. And they live on. Like, they obviously, like, they have a very special bond with their riders. And I liked that. I like that they have their own thing going on, and that their relationship with humans is a mutually beneficial one. Like, they are allies, not weapons or pets or tools or whatever. Like, they have an alliance. They use each other to do magic and to protect their kingdom against the invaders. So as far as the dragons' relationship with the humans went, it had more of a Samantha Shannon vibe to it. I am very interested to read the second book, however, because there are, like, when we get to the end, there's a big revelation at the end, and, like, I have questions, especially for the dragons, about what's going on. Like, the whole relationship thing, yeah, so, as I said, I wasn't expecting Xaden to be, like, as nice as he was and as supportive. I think was probably, out of all the characters, one of the ones that I liked the least, because he is very full of himself. And that is, like, again, it's a trope of, like, the super hot, sexy men who make the ladies' ovaries clap whenever they walk into a room. Yeah, that. And him, like, being super full of himself. Like, yeah, he's really nice, but also full of himself. So, overall, I understand why this book got hyped up the way it did. It's a pretty easy read, and I really did enjoy it, and I really do want to read the sequel. However, as fantasy writing goes as a general whole, Rebecca Yarros did not reinvent the wheel. At least as far as Dragon Riders novels go, my absolute favourite is still Temeraire, which is very unique, it's very original. This book is super fun, but there's nothing new in it. So it is a good book, it's definitely worth reading, but it's nowhere near the level of the Temeraire series. And that's why I am annoyed that I loved it so much. Just So that's it. That was my experience of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, Becky. I do recommend this book. It is a fun read. I would put a slight disclaimer on it, however, because it's not as dark as I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be way darker than this. It is pretty dark, but I feel like it sets the tone quite early on. Like, we are told from the first chapter that a significant number of recruits are going to die in this academy. So yeah, I feel like it sets the tone pretty early on, and again, it's not as dark as I thought it would be. And the dragons are so much fun. Like, top-notch dragons. So that's it for the book. And for today's metal album recommendation, I would like to give you Himmelfahrt by Subway to Sally. This is a medieval metal band from Germany that like to mix medieval themes, instruments and music along with heavy metal. Also, probably my favourite album cover for this year. So that's Subway to Sally. Go give them a spin. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't hesitate to leave a comment, tell me what you thought. Love, share, please subscribe to my channel, read books and listen to metal, and I'll see you all next time. Mwah.